Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Anime here on Reaction and Review. Tonight, guys, I'm checking out a film from 1993. That movie is Ninja Scroll. Now, I'm going to tell you guys right now, I don't know a damn thing about the plot to this film. The only thing I can tell you is that during the big anime boom of the late 80s and the early 90s, this film is one of the many that were seen as like gateway films or gateway TV shows that basically introduced people to the world of Japanese animation and got them really interested in it. I've seen almost every other gateway movie and TV show. I've never had a chance to see this one. In fact, I bought this Blu-ray about 2 years ago, and it's been sitting on my shelf. I've been waiting for the right opportunity to watch it. Tonight is the night. I have kept myself from watching any trailers for this thing. I've kept myself from reading the back. I don't know what the hell I'm getting into. I'm going to assume it has something to do with, ninjas, but, I honestly don't know why I would think it would have anything to do with ninjas. So I am hoping for this thing to be good, and the only way I'm going to find out is if I shut up and I push play, and I'm going to do that right now. So, without further ado, it's time to kick back, relax, and check out Ninja Scroll. Well, guys, I am able to say that this thing is a hell of a lot gorier than I thought it was going to be. It certainly is cool, and the gore is handled really well. It's just, I really was not expecting this much. It's just kind of sort of throwing me off a little bit. Guys, I'd probably be able to get into this story a hell of a lot more if the dialogue wasn't so nightmarishly bad. Oh my god. Guys, this fucking writing, at least the English translation kinda sucks. And the writing is coming off incredibly, clumsy and kinda stiff. And it's kind of taking a film with a somewhat interesting story, and it's bringing it down a lot, guys. Okay, I never thought I'd see a character who's got a hunchback that's literally a wasp's nest. That looked kind of sort of disgusting. But then again, that also is because I'm not a big fan of wasps. So yeah, that also is just a little bit... It just seriously looks kind of fucked up, guys, especially since now we're getting another shot of his, back full of wasp holes. It just looks fucked up. I find it almost weird, guys. This movie started off really good, started off really promising, and as it has slowly gone on, the movie's gotten a little bit boring. I'm certainly hoping for the final act to pick up again and we get back into the kind of awesome stuff we had way early on, but so far, guys, the movie's sort of ground down to almost a total stop, and it's starting to get a little bit dull. Okay, I'd kind of like to know exactly where the hell all these fucking, explosions are coming from. It's a ship filled with gold. There was one woman who was doused with frickin' gasoline, and then, some kind of oil or a fuel or a gas, and a candle was thrown at the puddle. We should have only had a little bit of fire, unless perhaps maybe she was combustible and is still fucking exploding. There is no real way to get... And right there's another explosion. There's no way, guys, to properly explain all these fucking explosions unless this boat's also loaded with mountains and mountains of, gunpowder or TNT. It just seems a little off to me, guys. Well, guys, that was Ninja Scroll. Let's shut that off. Okay, where to start? Well, I guess I should start with, has this film aged well in the 20-plus years since it was first made? Because, mind you guys, again, during the big anime boom of the late 80s and the early 90s, this thing was one of the many movies that got people into, anime. So is this thing as good as a whole lot of the other gateway films? Is this thing as good as, say, Ghost in the Shell, or Vampire Hunter D, or... let's see here. Akira. No, it's nowhere near as good as any of those. It it does certainly have its moments, but I'm going to tell you guys right now before I go into the proper review, this thing is not my, this is not my this is not my cup of tea. I want you guys to just know that going in, that I am not saying the movie sucked. It's just, it wasn't my sort of thing. Now, let's talk about the writing. Writing really is the one problem this film has, because I don't know how the film was when it was in Japanese, because I opted to watch the English, dub, just because. But the writing here is pretty bad. And when I say that, guys, I think that the biggest problem is the movie tries to set up all of these twists, and the film seems almost proud of hitting you with all of these twists, which would probably have been better if the twists weren't fucking telegraphed up to an hour beforehand. Anyone who is watching this movie and is paying any level of attention is going to see every single one of these twists coming long before they hit, and long before there's even the slightest hint of a twist. Now, it could also just be that I've watched so many of these things that I basically can see all of this stuff coming long before it hits. But to me, it still kind of felt a little bit lazy. Speaking of lazy, let's talk about character depth here. I do kind of sort of like how our two, leads are built up. And those two are built up fine. It's our villains. Our eight devils are built up in the worst possible way. Now, the problem is that you have 8 of them, and you have to work all 8 of them in. The movie's only 90 minutes long, so none of them really have a chance to grow or to flourish or to do anything of interest. So we see them. We might even, in the slightest chance, get to hear their name. And then they go into a fight, and then they get curb checked by whoever the hell they are fighting against, except for one who basically gets blown up for reasons. And that one is blown up by one of the other devils. It's just so poorly done. Guys, I'm going to tell you right now, I really think that I can sum up exactly how poorly done the villains are by summing up one of them, and this is going to be a slight spoiler. One of them has the power to blend, he has the power to blend into shadow. And he also has the power to control minds. Well, so he's sicking our female lead on our male lead, Jubei. And while he's blended into the shadows, he then uses a chain and he wraps it around Jubei's sword so that way he can't use it. Okay, that sounds totally fine. And then our devil, I don't even know the name of this fucking devil, he then opts to take his chain and he pulls Jubei's sword away. The sword rockets towards him and stabs him in the back. He stabbed himself in the back with his fucking opponent's weapon. All right, that seriously, guys, was the entire fight, and that one there, guys, is one of the lengthier ones in this thing. Barring the big final fight against the leader of the devils, and even that fight is incredibly short. It really, guys, is just problematic the way that they tried to do this. It would have probably been better if this thing was maybe, I don't know, like a trilogy of films, and you maybe focused on like 3 devils per film, and you tried to tell the story better. You tried to build the world better. The problem is when you have this many characters and you only have 90 minutes, you are going to rush through everything, and it's basically going to kneecap your pacing because you don't have time to build anything. So it basically, guys, is just flimsy fight scene too flimsy fight scene strung along with this plot involving gold and political bullshit. And again, all this could probably have been done a lot better if the movie had more time to work with it. Or barring that, perhaps maybe if they would have like broken this up into multiple 90-minute films, then perhaps maybe we would have had more here. We would have been able to have gotten more out of it. And really, guys, that to me is the big issue, is the fact that the fact that our two leads are built up fine, but nothing the fuck else is. And this movie comes off, at least to me, as incredibly shallow because they don't take the time to really tell us anything. And we are told about all of these warring fucking, like political like factions and families and dynasties and all this other crap. But we aren't given detail or depth to any of it, and it basically, guys, is just white noise droning behind these really, really quick, ultra flimsy fights. And that, to me, guys, is really the big issue. Well, that, and also the fact that they were trying for twists, even, with all this flimsy, writing, and the twists are telegraphed so far ahead of time. It's like, guys, writing here is really the biggest problem. Because guys, am not going to say a single negative thing. Well, I'm not going to say a lot of negative things about everything else here. But this film is absolutely ruined by its writing. At least to me. Because I'm going to say this right now, I totally understand. A lot of people are really into these sorts of films. A lot of people are really into these flimsy, goofball, ninja, films, and that is totally cool. And this film is going to appeal to those sorts of people just, fine. And that is totally awesome. And I personally am not about to make a huge stink because a film which is part of a genre I'm not the biggest fan of didn't totally thrill me. I kind of sort of guessed, but still I kind of sort of wanted to give this thing the benefit of the doubt. I wanted to see if it was going to be any good. And really, once more, writing is where, at least to me, the whole thing falls to pieces. Now, I'm going to say this, acting here, and once more, I watched this with the English dub. Acting here is fine. The only thing I have to comment on would have to be our male lead, the actor who voices Jubei. I do not understand why he opted to give his fucking Japanese ninja a Boston accent at times, and yet still be able to, complete with accent, pronounce people's names and city names and everything else. And then when he's just talking casually, he almost slips into a near Boston accent. It sounds way off, and it actually kind of it actually kind of makes the film a little bit goofier than it was really trying to be. But still, that honestly is like the one lone issue I have when it comes to voice acting is for some reason our lead ninja is from Boston. It just didn't sound right to me. Excuse me. Music here, guys, is done really, really well. The sound mix here is done very well, and barring once more our Boston ninja, everything else in terms of voice acting is fine. Animation here is done very, very well, and the art style is beautiful, and the way that everything is designed is awesome. Ultimately, guys, when all is said and done, I cannot recommend this, and it solely boils down to writing. And once more, I do have to stress, if you really are a fan of ninja films, action films, and you do not care about plot in the slightest, and you just want to watch body parts fly off and blood friggin' gush out of every possible wound you could ever see, then by all means, this thing here is going to be perfect for you. However, if you also want a decent plot to go with all of that, you're probably going to want to avoid this, because that honestly is the one thing it's really lacking, is plot and character depth. And that, guys, is really a crying shame, because I went into this thing and I wanted to love it. In fact, guys, I'm going to tell you, I actually bought this thing at a fucking anime con, which means that I was gouged on the price. I spent 20 bucks on it. I sat on it for 2 years. I wasn't sure when I was going to get around to it. I did all of that because I wanted this thing to be that good. And the fact that it is such a letdown. Mind you, guys, now it is still watchable as long as I want to shut my as long as I want to shut my brain off and just watch a mindless action flick. However, though, there are far better mindless action flicks out there. So, I mean, and once more, guys, I do know a lot of people love this, and a lot of people were introduced to, anime thanks to this thing, and that is totally fine. And I am not going to argue with you. If you seriously thought that this movie was awesome, rock on. Totally cool. Unfortunately, it really just wasn't my thing, so I cannot really recommend this one. Now, wow, guys, I swear to God, I really thought this movie was going to be a little bit better. But you know what? There actually is one other of these gateway movies I recently purchased on Blu-ray, and that is the Blu-ray for Ghost in the Shell. I am going to go and watch that because that one there I know is fucking awesome. Anyway, guys, with that we come to the close of another reaction and review. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, take care, and I will see you all in the near future. Peace.